So hello guys, today ang pag-usapan natin is about functions and their graph. Okay, so functions is a relation between a set of inputs or input values denoted by x and the set of output values denoted by y, where for each input, the function assigns a unique output. So every time nagagamit tayo ng isang input, merong lalabas na unique or isa lang na output whenever nagagamitin natin yung input na yon sa function. Okay? Just like making a bread out of dough using the oven as the function. So yung dough, so yun yung input natin doon sa machine or mismong oven as the function. So ang function ng oven is to cook, diba? Or to bake the dough. And ang output natin would be the bread, yung cooked bread. Okay? So, siya yung output natin. So, pag may isang tayong ipinasok na input dun sa ating function, there is one unique output. Okay? So, we say that y is a function of x in symbols. So, y is equal to f of x. So, the input is yung value ng x. And yung function is yung expression or mathematical expression na ginamit natin dun sa mismong function. And that is equal to the output, which is yung value ng y or the value of the function. And we read this as y is equal to f of x or function of x. So it can be represented as an equation. So example is mc squared, which is the famous equation by Albert Einstein, the equation for energy. Okay, so area of the circle, so we have a is equal to pi r squared. The formula for finding interest, so we have I is equal to p I t, which is yung p is yung principal amount, I is the interest rate, and t is the time. Pwede rin ipakita by using graphs. So ito yung function natin is presented by using graph. Okay? So meron tayong y-axis and x-axis. And kadalasan ang ginagamit natin sa x-axis is time. And kung ano man yung mini-measure natin na time sa y-axis. So nakikita natin yung change ng trends, okay, as x moves or the time moves along, okay? And pwede rin natin gamitin by table. So this is the table ng mga data which is yung ginamit para i-present yung function as a graph. So nakikita natin we have time and pressure. So we have the x-axis as time and y-axis as pressure. So this data or yung points na to is yung pair ng ating data. Okay? Then we have as a function at a verbal description. So meron tayo the distance an object travels at constant speed along a straight line path depends on elapsed time. Ito, ang ibig sabihin nito is ang distance is actually a function of time since constant yung speed. So yung layo ng mararating ng object na yon ay nakadepende sa tagal or oras na ugugugulin niya sa pagtakbo. Okay? So, sa pag-travel. The domain and range of a function. Okay? So, the domain is the set of all possible values that can be an input to the function. So, ito yung mga pwede nating gamitin sa function na dapat each of these input must have a unique output when used in the function. So, ito yung mga pinaka-definition niya. So, lahat ng pwede nating gawing input sa function na maglalabas ng unique output. Okay? Then, the range is the set of all possible values that can be an output of the function whenever an input is used. So, ito naman yung mga outputs na lalabas whenever nagagamit tayo ng element ng inputs or kahit anong input. Okay? So, that is the two sets of the function, the domain and the range. So, pwede natin ipakita yung domain and range by using arrow diagram. So, we have two sets. Pwede natin ipakita as collection of collection of objects. So, we have first set as the domain and the second set is the range. So, whenever we are going to use a function, specifically a function of x, which it is equal to x squared. So, lahat ng input natin dito, okay, ay dadaan sa function, which is i-square niya yung mga input na variables na x or yung mga x natin dito. So, for example, we have negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. So, ito lang yung laman, sabihin natin, ng domain. Okay? So, if this is the elements of the domain, so ito yung mga values of x mo. So, papalitan natin yung function. So, yung x dito, papalitan natin isa-isa ng value ng mga elements ng domain. Okay? Now, kapag in-square natin ang negative 2, using the function, this will become 0. Okay? So, ito yung mga possible outcomes natin. Because if negative 2, pag in-square natin siya, it is equal to positive 4. If negative 1, it is equal to positive 1. Because negative 1 times negative 1 is a positive. So, we can cancel the negatives. Diba? So, mamultiply lang natin yung value ng x twice sa sarili niya. Diba? So, 0 square is 0. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. And 3 times 3 is 9. So, nakikita natin dito, there is a single value whenever gagamit tayo ng isa. So, may isang value na lalabas. Okay? So, dito, pwede lang na magparehas yung output ng dalawang input. Ang mahalaga dito is, kahit basta gumamit tayo ng isang input, ay may isang value na lalabas. Okay? Unlike dun sa relation, na kapag may gumamit ka ng isang value, dalawa or multiple outcomes ang lalabas. Okay? So, sa function, always 1 to 1. Okay? So, pwede rin natin ipakita to as a set notation where yung x natin or the input is an element of the domain D. Okay? And yung y is an element of the set of range or yung R. Okay? And in interval notation, so we have an open interval. Dito naman ay from negative infinity to positive infinity, meaning all real numbers. Okay? Next one is half open interval where magsisimula yung values ng iyong set from 0, including 0 because it is closed in 0. So, ang x natin is greater than or equal to 0 and up to positive infinity. Another half-open interval, ito naman is open siya sa point negative 5. Okay? So, negative 5 is not included because it is open there. And yung values ng x mo is in between negative 5 up to 0, including 0. Half-open siya because open siya dito sa left side. Okay? Meaning, hindi included yung number na to. Okay? Doon lang tayo sa may closed side, included yung number na yun. Okay, ito naman is closed interval, meaning all numbers between these two numbers, including them both. Okay, so from 0 to 1, including 0 and 1. So we have 0 less than or equal to x. So x natin is either equal sa 0 or greater than 0, or x is less than or equal to 1. So napasa pagitan lang yung mga values ng x natin dun sa dalawang number na yon at included sila. Okay? Then, paano ba natin malalaman yung mga domain and range? So, finding the domain, first, there is a natural domain. That is the largest non-explicit stated or restricted set of real values. So, ito ay hindi stated dun sa given na function or hindi naka-indicate yung restriction. Okay? So, for the formula, okay, or the function itself, it gives real values or real y value. So mga outputs niya ay real value. Okay? And a real valued function is a function that have real numbers for its range. So the natural domain gives real valued functions. Okay? So dito, natural siya, ibig sabihin, it is the largest na hindi na kailangang bigyan ng restriction. Always, lagi, yun yung domain ng given na function. Then, the real valued function, real numbers ang kanyang outputs. For example, number 1, we have y is equal to x squared. So, ang kanyang domain is actually all real numbers. So, yung lahat ng pwede nating i-input sa x ay lahat ng numbers na pwede nating maisip. Okay? And that is the x element of the set of real numbers. And ang range naman niya is from 0 to positive infinity, or lahat ng y outputs natin ay greater than or equal to 0. So, pwedeng mag-0 hanggang positive infinity pataas. Since any number that is being squared would only have positive outcomes because kahit pa negative yung x natin, since naka-square siya, magka-cancel out yung negativity. So, positive lang lagi yung output. So, pwede lang mag-0 at saka positive numbers. Another one is the opposite function of square. We have the square root. Y is equal to square root of x. So, ang domain naman nito is from 0 to infinity or all non-negative real numbers. Okay? Or x is greater than or equal to 0 since any negative number will result to an imaginary output. Because kapag gumamit tayo ng negative dito, since the square root of negative 1 or any negative number is an imaginary output or imaginary number, so ang y natin is imaginary, not real number. So wala tayong real output. So that's why it is not a function kung negative yung ilalagay natin dito. So ang pwede lang na domain or values ng input ay 0 and positive numbers. Okay? Ang range naman niya is the same because ang square root typically termed. Ang range naman ng y is equal to square root of x ay 0 to infinity din. Or y is greater than or equal to 0. Since square root typically returns only non-negative real numbers because stated na it is always positive. Okay? Non-negative. Kahit anong number ilagay natin dito, wag lang negative. Ang kadalasang ini-input niya, since positive yung x, positive din yung result ng square root. Okay? Then how do we graph a function? So the graph of a function consists of points in the rectangular coordinate system or the Cartesian plane named after René Descartes. Okay? Whose coordinates are the input-output pairs or what we call the ordered pairs. In set notation, this can be used as point. So point P is a pair of x which is inputs and f of x is the output or yung ginamit na natin yung function where yung x is an element of the domain. Okay? So D is a domain of the given function f. So example of the graph, we have the graph of the y equal to x squared. Okay? So if we have a value of 2 for the input, pag i-square natin yung 2, we have 4. If 3 halves, pag i-square natin, we have 9 over 4. Square of 1 is 1. Square of negative 1 is positive 1 also. And if square of negative 2, we have positive 4. So we have a parabola opening upward. Okay? So if xy is a point on the graph, then y is equal to f of x, which is the height of the graph above or below the point x or the x-axis. So yung 2, x is equal to 2, yung height niya is actually 4. Okay? So the graph of the function can be tested by vertical line test. Okay? So function f can only have one value f of x. Okay? So if we use an input and used it in the function, may isang value lang ang f of x. So for each x in its domain, so no vertical line can intersect the graph of a function more than once. So ibig sabihin lang nito ay isang beses lang tatama yung vertical line. Okay? If a vertical line intersects a graph 2 or more times, then the given is not a function. Okay, example, the equation of a circle, x squared plus y squared is equal to 1. So, ito ay unit circle. Ang radius niya ay 1. So, since a complete circle can be intersected by a vertical line twice from dito sa point na to at saka dito, so, etong given equation na to ay hindi function. It is just a relation. But, if we just use half of the circle or semicircle, okay, so ito, pag ginawa natin ng vertical line, isang beses lang tatamaan. Pwede rin natin kunin yung bottom half as one function. So itong equation na to, the equation of the semicircle, is just half of the circle. So ito ay function. Even the equation for the negative part. Okay? There are piecewise defined functions. So the functions that are described in pieces by using different formulas on different parts of their domain. Example, the absolute value function. So yung function na to is equal to the absolute value of x, which is kapag ang x ay positive, equal lang siya sa positive x na yon. Kapag ang x ay less than 0 or negative, so kailangan mo pang mag-multiply ng negative sign. Okay? So, using the graph, so para dun sa first half ng graph, yung y is equal to x, so we have the function is equal to x if ang values ng x natin ay positive. So, nasa positive x-axis. So, meaning yung y is equal to positive x lang din. So, value ng y is positive lang din. And 1 is equal to 1, 2 is equal to 2, 3 is equal to 3. So, we have a line with 45 degrees angle. Okay? Slope is 1. And for the negative side ng x-axis, we have negative values for the inputs. So, we have negative 1 is positive 1 also. Since absolute value siya, kailangan i-multiply mo pa ng negative. So, straight line lang din siya, 45 degrees from the negative x-axis. And that function dun sa left side is y is equal to negative x. So, kapag pinagsama natin itong dalawang function na to, all in all, it is y is equal to the absolute value of x or the function, absolute value function. Okay? So, the absolute value function has domain of all real numbers since up to infinity, diba? Negative and positive infinity. So, pwede kang gumamit ng kahit anong values ng x. And yung range natin is just from 0 to any positive number. Okay? Since hindi siya bababa dito sa negative y-axis. Another example is function where it is equal to negative x if x is negative. Function is equal to x squared if the x is from 0 including 0 up to 1 including 1. And it is equal to 1 if x is greater than 1. So, paano natin siya ipapakita using the graph? Okay. So, graph natin. So, yung first one is negative x kapag negative yung input. Okay. So, we have from negative x, so equal siya sa negative x din. Meaning, kung negative yung x natin times negative, we have positive y. So, we have half of the absolute value sa negative side. So, dito, hindi included yung 0. So, open circle lang yung point na yun. Okay? Since 0 is not included here. Okay? That is y is equal to negative x. So, another is yung gitna. So, we have from 0, so including 0, and x squared. So, half ng parabola or sabihin natin part ng parabola na example natin kanina from 0 to 1 including 1. So since x is equal to 1. So yan yung second piece natin. Okay, y is equal to x squared. Then the last one is the function is equal to 1 if x is greater than 1. So not including 1. So the graph would be always equal to 1 whenever na yung x natin ay greater than 1. Okay? So, straight line, horizontal. So, ang complete function natin, so y is equal to f of x, which is equal to this pieces. So, it is defined on the entire line or real line, so meaning all real numbers ang domain natin, but has values given by different formulas depending on the position of x. And we apply different formulas to different parts of its domain. So, from the negative domain, ito yung gagamitin nating formula. And dito, from 0 to 1, ito lang. And from 1 up to positive infinity is always equal to 1. Then we have another type of functions. This is also piecewise defined function, the integer floor function or the greatest integer function. So, ang symbol niya is bracket na ang nasa paa lang, okay? So, meaning nasa floor yung kanyang paa. This is sometimes called just floor function. So, the function whose value of any number x is the greatest integer less than or equal to x. So, if we have 3.5, ano ba ang greatest integer less than 3.5? So, yung whole number lang niya dito, di ba? Because 3.5, ang butal niya is 5. Ang whole number niya, or the greatest integer na mas maliit sa kanya is 3 na. So, in the graph, so, meron tayo dito, open circle siya pagtapat sa 4, and including 3, so the line is just always equal to 3. So, any points here from 3 up to 4, so 3.5 tayo, andito siya sa gitna. So, ang value lang niya is 3. So, y is equal to 3. Another example, 2.9. So, this is equal to 2 since ang whole number natin, okay, mas maliit sa 2.9 pero the greatest integer na mas malapit. So, 2.9 ay nandito. So, ano pa mas maliit sa kanya na pinakamalaking integer, which is 2. So, equal lang siya sa 2. So, kung ang y natin ay 2, okay, so from here up to ito, straight line lang siya. Another one, if 1 is equal to the point lang siya. Because the floor function of 1 is equal to itself since nakalagay sa definition or equal to x. So kung anong number natin dito, kung whole number siya lang din yun. So, 1 is equal to 1. Okay? So, any number, so from 2, pababa, equal lang din sa 1. So on, so 0.2 is 0. Negative 0.2 is equal to negative 1. So, dito naman, mag-iingat na tayo because hindi na yung whole number ang kukunin natin because ano yung integer na nasa left side niya. Okay? Or less than dun sa number na to. So, that is negative 1. Okay? So, nasa negative side na tayo. So, hindi na natin titignan yung whole number, kundi yung anong integer ang nasa left side. If negative 1.8, we have negative 2. So, ang negative 1.8 ay nandito. Okay? Or nandito, 1.8. Then, ang nasa left side niya is negative 2. So, yun na yun. So, if negative 2, negative 2. So, ito ay naka-arrange into a straight line. Another one is, kung meron tayong floor function, meron tayong ceiling function. It is the least integer function. Okay? So, nasa ceiling naman yung kanyang symbol. So, the function whose value at any number x is the smallest integer greater than or equal to x. So, kung para sa graph, so for example, yung 2.5, ano yung mas malaki sa kanya na kasunod niya na integer na? So, that is 3. Because 2.5, ang kasunod na integer is 3. So, from here hanggang 3 lang. Okay? Always 3 yung values dito. So, any point from 2 up to 3, y niya is 3 lang. Okay? So, straight line lang. Pag 1.9, so andito yung point na yon. Okay? Ano yung susunod ng integer sa kanya? Which is 2. So, kung value natin ay 2 from any numbers na nandito, so we have 2. Okay? If 2 is 2, So, dun lang din yun. Okay, again, if 1 is 1, point lang din siya, and any number less than that is always equal to 1. Okay? If negative 2 equals to 0, negative 1.2, negative 1. If negative 2 is 2, if negative 2.8, so andito yung negative 2.8. So, ang value nyo lang niya ay negative 2 also. Okay? And also, it is arranged in a straight step function. Okay? Now we tackle different types of functions. First are the algebraic functions. First one, we have linear functions. So a function in which the equation in the form of f of x is equal to y, or it is equal to mx plus b, where m and b are constant. M is the slope of the straight line, b is the y-intercept of the graph. Okay? So para i-graph siya, we have a straight line, and dito ang y-intercept natin is the origin. So ang b natin is 0, and ang slope natin ay 1. Okay, so ang slope ay actually rise over run. So we have y over x. Ang formula niya is y is equal to x, since m is equal to 1 and b is 0, so y is equal to x only. So the function f of x is equal to x, where m is equal to 1 and b is equal to 0, is called the identity function, because so kung anong value ng x, siya din yung value ng y. Another one, straight line with slope equal to 2, and ang y-intercept naman natin ay also equal to 0. So ang formula is y is equal to 2x. Another one, ang slope naman niya is 1/2, so we have y is equal to 1/2 x. Okay? So laging papass through sa origin. So ang y-intercept natin is always equal to 0. So with the slope of negative 1, pababa, so y is equal to negative x. Pababa rin, pero ang slope ay negative 3. So masyado matarik. So we have y is equal to negative 3x. Okay? So from here, pwede nating i-move or dagdagan ng value yung b, which is the y-intercept. Okay? So if y is equal to 2x, dagdagan natin ng plus 2. So ang mangyayari, nasa 2 na yung kanyang y-intercept. So ang slope pa rin niya is 2, so parallel sila because they have the same slope. Pero dito may y-intercept na siya na plus 2 since doon siya dumaan sa y is equal to 2. Okay? So na-intersect niya yung y doon sa point 2. And a constant function will result to a horizontal line. Kung ano man yung constant na yon, doon siya tumaan sa y-axis. So ang slope natin dito ay 0. So ang y natin or the function is equal to the constant b or yung y-intercept natin kung saan siya dumaan. So dito we have 3 halves since ito ay nasa 1.5. Okay? Another type of functions are the power functions. So a function in the form of f of x is equal to x raised to a. So meron siyang power. And a is a constant. May different cases tayo rito. Kung ano man yung magiging value ng constant natin na power. So we have case 1 when a is equal to n, where n is a positive integer, so positive power. If n is equal to 1, it is the identity function because it is just equal to f of x is equal to x only. Okay, so straight line lang siya. So y is equal to x. If n is equal to 2, so we have x raised to 2. So the function is f of x is equal to y is equal to x squared. Okay, so it is the example natin kanina na square function. Okay, so the parabola opening upward. And case 3, example number 3, if n is equal to 3, it is a function f of x is equal to x cubed naman. Okay, ang itsura naman niya is from the negative y because any input na negative, negative din yung lalabas na output because naka-cube, mayroong negative factor na walang ka-pair. Okay, so magkakaroon pa rin siya ng negative, okay, na value. So if x is negative, y is also negative. If x is positive, positive lang din. Okay? So yan. Next one. If n is equal to 4, then f of x is equal to x raised to 4. So almost the same ng x raised to 2 or x squared, pero mas open na siya because ang susunod na value rito if x is equal to 2, okay? So we have 16 na sa halip na 4. Okay? So mas matarik na siya. And mas flat na yung malapit sa origin. Okay? Case 2, if yung power naman natin is a negative integer. So, mangyayari dito is mag-reciprocal yung given natin. So, y is equal to 1 over x. If negative 1, pupunta lang sa denominator. Diba? Okay? And y is equal to 1 over x, ang graph niya is actually a hyperbola. Okay? So, if x is negative, so 1 over negative number is still negative. Okay? If x is positive, okay, positive lang din. Pero dito, naka-reciprocal yung number. Okay? If n is equal to negative 2, so magpa-positive naman. Okay? Almost the same pa rin ang graph, pero nasa positive side lahat. Okay? Because squared siya, again, it is always positive. Okay? Case 3 naman, so we have a power which is a fraction. So we have 1/2, 1/3, 3/2, and 2/3, for example. Okay? If if a is 1/2, we have square root of x. Because yung denominator is actually the roots. Okay? Index of the root. So we have square root. Ito yung graph niya. So kapag nag-input tayo ng values ng x, again, ang domain natin sa square root of x is just positive x. And ang output is always positive also. Okay? If f of x is equal to x raised to 1/3 naman, we have cube root of x. And that is, okay, pag ganyan. So, pwede na tayo mag-negative ng input dito. Okay, since cube yun, there are 3 factors na hahanapin. Okay? And all the same. So, y is equal to cube root of x. Kapag 3/2 naman, so that is actually equal to square root of x cubed. So, papagano naman siya. And if f of x is equal to x raised to 2/3, or it is cube root of x squared, so papagano naman siya. So, yung properties ng power and roots ay nagpa-follow dun sa values ng function. Okay? Then, meron tayong tinatawag na polynomial functions. Functions in the form of p of x, so p meaning polynomial, of x meaning a function. Okay? It is equal to a sub n and x raised to n plus a sub n minus 1 x raised to n minus 1 plus so on and so forth plus a sub 1 x plus a sub 0 where yung n natin is a non-negative integer and a sub 0 or yung mga a sub I natin are real constants o yung mga coefficients natin. Okay? And there is what we call the degree of polynomials, which is the greatest exponent among the terms as long as yung kanyang coefficient is not equal to 0 and n is positive or greater than 0. Okay? So there are different types of polynomial. If the polynomial function is constant lang, so we have a sub 0 lang, so the rest ay 0, it is the constant function with a degree 0. So p of x is just equal to a constant. Okay? And another one, if p of x is equal to mx plus b, it is a linear function where yung second term natin, meron na tayong two terms. So, ang coefficient natin for this one is the slope actually, and yung constant is the y-intercept. So, as long as m is not 0, it is not a constant function. So, linear siya. Ang degree ay 1. Then, for if n is equal to 2, p of x is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. So, 3 terms na siya, and ang highest exponent natin is 2, which is the degree of the polynomial. And if n is equal to 3, p of x, ax cubed plus bx squared plus cx plus d. So, constant term, x raised to 1, x raised to 2, and x raised to 3. So, ang highest degree, ang highest exponent is 3. That is the degree, and this is what we call the cubic function. Then, the rest is just what we call the polynomial. Okay, types of function, algebraic function. Another one is a rational function. Rational meaning ratio between values, okay? So, if a function is equal to a quotient of two functions, p of x and q of x. So, if p and q are polynomials, so ang domain natin is a set of all real numbers also. Pero, ang restriction for division always, the value of the denominator should not be equal to 0. So, ang examples nito ay ito mga to. So, we have a rational function y. Okay. So, meron tayong hyperbola. And ito. So, that is y. And this one. So, ang rational functions ay meron sinusunod na asymptotes. And that is the line that the graph approaches but does not meet or cross. And it is not part of the graph. Okay? So, ang pinakamalungkot na kwento sa mathematics is the story of the asymptote. So, papalapit ka ng papalapit pero hindi mo ma-meet. Then, types of functions. Meron na tayong tinatawag na transcendental functions. So, ito yung mga non-algebraic functions. So, the first one is the trigonometric functions. It is constructed using any of the 6 basic trigonometric functions. The sine, cosine, tangent, secant, cosecant, and cotangent. So, we have the f of x is sine x, where ang x natin dito is commonly ay angles. Okay? Not real numbers, angles. So, these are the graph of sine x. So, this is the sine wave. And this one is the cosine wave. So, ang 0 natin ay ito. Okay? From -1 to +1. This one is the tangent. And yung vertical line are the asymptotes. So, ito lang yung mga curve ng tangent. This one is cosecant, secant, and cotangent. So, yung mga co-functions is actually parang mirror ng functions. Okay? Then we have the exponential function. Functions in the form of f of x is equal to a raised to x. Dito naman, kabaliktaran noong ating power function, yung variable is nasa power. And yung a as the base is a constant, positive constant. Okay? And as long as it is not equal to 1. Their domain is a set of all real numbers, pero ang range niya is open sa 0. So, it never assumes the value of 0. Okay? So, ang graphs niya is pag ganon, exponential growth. So, ito ay nagagamit sa mga real-time events like spread of bacteria. This is the growth of money, etc. Okay? So, itong blue is y is equal to 2 raised to x. So, ang base is 2. Y is equal to 3 raised to x. Y is equal to 10 raised to x. So, exponents ang variables natin. Ito naman, negative. So, pababa yung function niya as x goes to positive infinity. Okay? So, kapag gumagamit ka ng x or inputs natin na papalaki, unti-unting bumababa yung value niya since negative yung exponent. Okay, next we have the logarithmic function. It is the function in the form f of x is equal to log x with the base a. Okay, where a is not equal to 1 and positive constant. So, ito yung mga inverse function ng exponential function. Okay? And their domain is from 0 to infinity. So, kabaliktaran ng exponential function. Baliktad sila ng domain and range. Ang range niya is all real numbers. So, example ng graph nito. Since ang domain niya is hindi magsi-zero and hindi rin magne-negative, so, andito lang siya sa positive x-axis. And yung y natin is from negative to positive y. Okay? That's all.